So, first problem we run into with this melee over here is one set of troops is regular, the other is irregular. Do we roll D-average? Do we roll, what do we do here? In this case, I'm going to say that the lower dice, the black dice, is going to be to represent the barbarians, and the regular dice is for the horsemen. So, yeah, let's just roll and see what happens for the random factor. So this represents the Bretons. This represents this. So this actually gets bumped to a 3. It's still a negative result. We're looking at, oh gosh. What was it? It was a 3 and a 5. It was like a difference of 2. Sorry. You take the actual difference in this case. So it's going to be a -2 random factor against this guy who's delivering the blows. There will be no counter blows because this is in the rear. So -2, we're already starting with a problem here. Weapon factor. Let's look at the tactical factor while we're here. Melee participants. Defender in partial cover, no. Attacking flank or rear of unshielded troops. Those Bretons have shields, but they're attacked in the rear. So I'm going to give it a 1. General consideration. Striking blows fired disordered, no. Height advantage. Unit striking blow has the height advantage, nope. Unit pursuing, +1, yeah, so we're going to wash that. We're going to give them another +1, so we're down to 0 now for factors. And it was charging, but now it's going uphill. I don't think you can charge uphill. I think their impetus is spent there. So we're going to give it a 0 for factors, and ranks in contact with 3. What's the weapon factor here? So we're looking at cavalry and melee. So we're looking at medium horse versus light foot. So that's 5. So it's factors of 5 and figures 3. Factor 5, figure 3. That's going to be 8 casualties, which is a nothing burger unless I roll an 8 or less on this. I got a 4, so I will remove a figure, and that resolves that melee since they are struck in the rear. The next melee is these guys against those Irish Kerns. So let's see what we got. We got to get some dice out of our pocket here. So again, this is irregular versus regular, so I'm going to make the black dice represent the irregular troops for the roll going this way, and then we'll flip it around. So irregular troop got 4, so we keep that. That's a 4 as well, so we're going to keep that. It's a difference of 0. We're taking the actual difference, so random factor here is going to be 0. Tactical factor. Let's do the weapon factor. So for the attacks going against the Kerns, talking about medium horse versus light foot, again, that's going to be 5. So factors here of 5. Are there any tactical factors that apply? Oh yeah, these guys had to take a reaction test because they were charged. Let me do the reaction test now before we get any further. So those Irish Kerns receiving a charge, reaction roll, coming to grips with the enemy, entering the zone of control, not on flanks or rear. Optionally, this test need only apply if the enemy unit is of equivalent type of strength or better. So I'm going to say no reaction test because he's punching down instead of punching up. So the Irish Kerns have to make a reaction test. They are considered grade C. They roll with barbarian dice, but in this case, we get 6, we get 10. Are there any reaction test modifiers? They are unshielded, but not on the flank. They're not disordered because that interference ratio, I did look it up, that does not affect. Noble attached to the unit, no. Army commander within 15, no. Unit downhill, no. Flank or rear, no. Flank support. This guy's unsupported, rear and flank. Missileers capable of shooting. They already fired, but they are capable of doing covering fire again. So we're going to give these guys an advantage of 2 more. the Kerns, that is. And then this was unengaged cavalry, so that's going to take them down to 5. So that's going to be 6 and 5 is going to be 11. 11 grade C, 10 to 13 persevere. So a nothing burger on this entire process. I can see many ways that we can streamline this. Okay, so let's reiterate. There was 0 for the random factor. There's 5 for the weapon factor. Now we're looking at tactical factors for these guys attacking them. Tactical factor. This is melee. Defender doesn't have cover. Flank or rear doesn't matter. Heavy horse, not doing that. Cavalry, fighting amongst potholes. Nope. Nope. General considerations. Nope. Nope. Pursuing, retreating, retiring, retreating, or routing enemy. I'm going to give them +1 because they were following those Bretons. So 6. Charging or countercharging, impetus bonus. Yep, so that takes us up to 7. That's it. So it's going to be figures in contact, which is 4, with factors 7. 7, 4. It's going to be 16. 16 casualties. Again, we're going to roll a d20 and see what happens here. 11, so we will remove 1. That's the end of that melee. Not a lot of action not a lot of bang for your buck here. I think there's going to have to be a revision where I depart ways with Phil Barker's WRG as written and start to streamline this in more of a Tony Bath way. Because I do like the nuances, some of them. I don't like how complex it is to get to a combat result here. Okay, so now we're looking at melee coming the other way. So in this case, we've got the Irish Kerns that are defending themselves. They get to strike some blows. So I'm going to say that the white dice in this time represents the irregular troops. White dice is 1, 5. So this is going to be a difference of 4, -4. So they're already in the hole. -4. Let's look at their weapon factor. Weapon factor for foot and melee. This is going to be light foot versus medium horse. So that's going to be 1, so they're at -3. Any tactical factors here that can help them out of this hole? Not that I can see, so they're -3. And then they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to give them all 5 in contact. So that'll be -3 and 5. Come on, where's the right page? -3, come across to 5, it does 1. It's only a 1 in 20 chance that there was a casualty inflicted. And I rolled a 13, which is right next to 1, but no, nothing. So that melee is done. Now we're going to do heavy horse versus heavy horse. Heavy horse versus heavy horse. We're going to do the Yorks first, and then we'll do the Lancastrians. So random factor, in this case, both units are regular units. So 2 and 4, I don't have to adjust any of the dice. The difference between the two of them is -2. So we're looking at -2 for the Orcists already. Weapon factor. Weapon factor for cavalry and melee. Heavy horse versus heavy horse with metal barding is 2. So -2 and 2 washes out. Are there any tactical factors that apply here? I don't think so, but we're going to double check. Tactical factors. Javelineers, experts, melee participants, cover, flank. Heavy horse, nope. General considerations. Nope. Pikemen, nope. Charging or countercharging. Impetus bonus of 1. We'll give them a 1 for now. Yep. Leadership, nope. Distractions, nope. Heavy horse is always treated as shield. Okay. It's going to be the same factors going back the other way with the exception of random. So hopefully I can remember what I just did. So we're on a 1. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in contact. That's only a 4. So there's a 4 in 20 chance of inflicting casualty here. No. New roll for random factor. So these are both going to have to be adjusted because this is regular versus regular. So this becomes a 3, and that will become a 4. And that means the difference is going to be, because this is the negative dice, so that means the difference is -1. So the only thing, we're bumping it up now. So it's going to be a factor of 2, because, oh, he can't get the impetus bonus for countercharging. So it's actually going to be 1 for the factors, yeah. So 1 and 5, 4, 4 and 20 chance of inflicting something. 2, hey, he inflicted a casualty, amazing. We move to post-melee considerations. Okay, I had intended to add a tooltips kind of thing to keep this simple. So non-mounted troops fighting exclusively with mounted troops. That would be this circumstance over here. So there are actually 2 blocks that kind of talk about this. So in this case, non-mounted troops fighting exclusively with mounted troops. And the non-mounted troops took more casualties, which they did not, right? No matter how inflicted, right? Because these guys took 2 casualties and that guy took 1 casualty. So we're not talking about this block. So now we move down to this one. So same circumstance, non-mounted versus mounted. And the non-mounted troops did not break. The mounted troops must retire 10 inches in good order and rally the next turn. They have been repulsed. So these guys have to retire. So I'm going to get a marker for that. So these guys have to go back 10 inches. They bounced off. So basically, when it's horse versus foot, either the horse immediately breaks the infantry or they get repulsed. That's what these 2 blocks essentially boil down to. So very simple once you've read it a million times. And you should see it in the original Barkerese. Okay. Fighting only footmen versus footmen. Where do we have that circumstance? We don't. So let's take a look at this circumstance. Again, we're looking at who took more casualties. So the non-mounted troops fought exclusively with mounted. The non-mounted troops took more casualties. In this case, did they take 5%? Well, they took 10% actually, because that's 1 of 10 figures. So they took 10%. They break. So these guys, it says light horse cannot break non-light footmen unless they are disordered, meaning the footmen are disordered. But yeah, so these troops are broken, which we'll deal with that here in a second. And then let's come down here to mounted troops versus mounted troops. So if the fighting did not include footmen, now we're down in this block. And one side had twice the casualties the other. Well, this one had casualties, that unit didn't, so we're going to say yes. And the casualties inflicted by melee were in excess of 5% of the unit's strength. Yes, because that's 10%. That's 1 of 10 units. The unit will break. So broken, repulsed.